Thank you for listening to the Mentor Project, where we discuss marketing, SEO, how to go full-time in your business, and so much more. Here's your host, Nicole Bruce.
Hi guys, Nicole here. Today we are talking about a topic that is really near and dear to my heart. And honestly, I think a lot of people can use this advice that we're going to talk through today. Today I have Laura Sills with me. So Laura, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
To get started, go ahead and tell us just a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I am based in Brooklyn, New York. I work for a company called Ziva Meditation, and we have both an online and an in-person course where we teach a daily meditation practice. My boss's book actually just came out last week, which is really huge for us. So most of our marketing and operations efforts over the last 8 months or so have been geared around the book. But I run the rest of the operations and finance. So I deal a lot with the back end of all of the online courses and the administration that go around the in-person courses and running events and things like that. So we're a really small team. So everybody wears 100 different hats, which is why this topic that we're going to talk about has been such a huge learning experience and practice for us as a small but really rapidly growing team in the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, definitely. And if you guys haven't visited their company website, it's really awesome. And I kind of looked over everything there. And you guys have a lot going on for just a few people on the team. And I definitely understand where the topic today would really come into play. So, kind of going into the topic today, you had kind of emailed me to come on and talk about this. And it was something that really struck me as wow, I wanted to do an episode on this already, and just having someone else to kind of talk about this topic with is really great. So, of course, our topic today is how to say no and when to say no, how it can help you in the professional world actually progress. And I know a lot of people have trouble saying no. They think it's going to set them back or they think they're going to miss out on an opportunity. So I know, especially with you, Laura, with the small team and learning to say no to certain things in that aspect, how did this topic really come into your brain as, oh, we need to talk about this a little bit more?
Well, there was a couple reasons. I mean, the first, I'm coming up on my 2-year anniversary with Ziva, and as soon as I started, I immediately took on a CRM transfer. So we moved our entire database of customers over and started working with a company that had the ability to do a lot more automation.
Okay.
So, we wanted to focus on how do we free everybody's time up? Like, what are some of the big things that we can automate in the business so that everybody, including Emily, including myself, including the whole marketing team, has more time to focus on innovation and what's next. We wanted to launch a new online course. We wanted to change where our membership site was. We just wanted to really button everything up and make sure that the operations were running really tightly and that there weren't humans doing things that we could automate, and so that we could all focus on being creative. And we knew that year or so process of overhauling some of the back end of stuff was gonna make it so that we had to say no to some opportunities,
Mhm.
because we wanted to focus on really making the business run in a way that it could scale, because we knew that a book was coming. We knew that the new online course was coming. And it's we're expecting to double or triple or quadruple in size. And we've got to make sure that the business is ready for that kind of growth. So we really need to focus on us and take some time to invest in the health of the actual operations. And then on top of that, my boss wanted to get pregnant. So it was we need to baby proof the business. We need to
Mhm.
be ready for her to be gone for 3 months. And what does that look like? It was her solo for so long, and what she built this company into on her own just by being a master networker and just a true hustler was unbelievable. So for her to even begin to think about disconnecting for 3 months was a really big deal. And we knew that we needed to get the company to a place where she really felt comfortable disconnecting, because she had earned that break and deserved that break. And we wanted to make sure that she didn't have to worry about stuff. And my personal goal was just to make it so that she came back seamlessly, and could just fit right back in and could take the time that she deserved and the time that she needed to take care of her son. And it was honestly like the best 3 months I'd had, because it was such a learning experience for both of us. So, we needed to say no to a bunch of opportunities that came up just while she was physically going to be on maternity leave. But then, we got really clear about the mission statement of the company, the core objectives of the company for that year. And then that just became like the question, every opportunity that came up, it was like, does it align with the mission? Yes. Does it align with the core strategic objectives? Yes or no? And then, is it going to move the needle or not? Is this something that you want to do? Or is this something that's really going to move the business forward or connect us to a different person that is going to really move the business forward? And all of that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the part that a lot of people have trouble with is, you're planning on, in your case, using the next year in tripling or doubling, or, whatever. You're going to grow a lot. So you need to turn down some opportunities to be able to do that. And I think a lot of people struggle with turning down any opportunity, really, especially when they're first starting out. Um, a lot of people just think they need to take everything that comes towards them and that everything is going to benefit them. But something that's really important to remember, and I'm so glad you just hit on this, is, does it align with what we're going towards? Is it going to actually progress us, or is it not really going to do anything for us? Is it going to have some type of benefit for us to where we're actually going to end up growing from taking this opportunity and we're not just wasting time?
Yeah, it's hard when cool things come up that you want to do. We lovingly refer to them as shiny trains. Um, and Emily is constantly looking at us and being like, is this a shiny train? Like, do I just want to do this because I want to meet this person, or I want this logo on the website? Is this a shiny train? And then we have like a really productive conversation about it. That's like, okay, well, what do we really think is going to come from this? How many people are going to get added to our email list? Is there really going to be sales from this? Like, is this an audience that's going to be primed to buy the online course or to come take the in-person course? Is this logo worth it? And sometimes it is as simple as that. That's like, how can we keep the administration low enough to where this isn't something that like sucks up the attention of the entire team for 3 weeks? But if it's the Today Show logo, you want that on your website of like, somebody's been, the boss or like the face of the company has been on the Today Show, then sure, that adds to credibility, and that eventually will lead to bigger and better opportunities. Is it something we can put in the reel, or, is it part of your portfolio that's really going to build you as a brand? And that's, I think, what happens so much in the beginning is like, you want to hustle and you want to take on everything because you want to build that portfolio and you want to build that credibility. And I think that's really important in the first few years before you've got the financial stability to say no to some things. And that's really what my boss did best, is just networked and met everybody that she could, and made sure that she stayed connected with those people and followed up really well, and did all of that. That's like the true hustle in the beginning, until you've reached a point where you do feel stable enough to say no. And deciding on what that point is probably one of the hardest pieces of it, of when am I allowed to start saying no versus, I've still got to build the brand. I've still got to build my credibility, all of that.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny that you brought up badges, because I think it was just yesterday I was kind of looking at my website and I was like, I want every badge ever, like from every company. But then I kind of sat back and I was like, well, if this magazine has like 100 readers, is it really going to help us out? Probably not. So those, just identifying who to network with too, the bigger people that are actually going to benefit you versus, maybe that magazine that only has 100 readers. When you first start out, maybe you want to do just, maybe the first one with the tiny magazine to kind of get your foot in the door. But once you're kind of actually going towards growing your business, definitely you kind of have to just pick and choose who you work with and who you feature and stuff like that. And especially being the size company that you guys are, I'm sure you guys get a million opportunities. So it just gets even harder to, you want to take them all and you want to get all of that recognition, but sometimes it just doesn't pay off.
Yeah, especially when, one of the things that, and working for someone like Emily that's so in tune with herself and what she's built and like how she's built it, and as grounded as she is, and as I would like to think the rest of the team is, now that we've all been meditating for so long, is really incredible. I've never learned from someone like her before, who is such an empowering leader that like trusts her staff so implicitly. It's like nothing I've ever witnessed. And her true awareness that like your most valuable resources are your time and your attention. She's aware of that for herself, but she's also aware of that for the rest of the team in a way that not a lot of leaders are. That like she's very cognizant of where we're spending our time and our attention, and gets protective of that for the rest of the team. That she's like, can I outsource this because this isn't worth your time? Like your time to me is the most important thing. And I don't want you spending your time on this thing that we could find somebody else to do. We could automate it, and that's where I come in a lot of the time, is like on a weekly to monthly basis, just evaluating what I'm doing and being like, is there any piece of what I'm doing that I don't need to do ever again? If a process comes up 3 or 4 times, I'm like, how do I automate this so that I don't have to do this again? And to have an entire team that sort of thinks like that has been really huge for us in the last year. Of like, every time something comes up, it's just evaluating like, is this worth the time? What is the time cost investment in this? What's the return on that? Is there somebody better suited to do this, or is this worth us learning how to do ourselves? And that with such a small team has been so helpful too, that there's certain processes. It's like, yeah, this is going to be a time investment, but I'd like to know how to do this as an operations manager, as a future CEO, as a future entrepreneur. Like, I really want to learn how to do this. And she's like, okay, go learn how to do it. If that's something that you really want to know how to do, great. Or there's times where she's been like, I don't think that that's worth it for you to learn. Let's outsource that. Let's find somebody else to do that for you. And you can spend your time on something that's more meaningful to the business right now, or to customer service right now, or to web dev right now. And that's been a really huge distinction, because I'm the type of person that wants to learn everything. So I'll teach myself how to do everything and spend 24 hours a day working, because I just want to know how to do it all.
Right.
And she's been really grounding in that and been like, no, you're worth more than that now. And that's like a really empowering thing to hear. And I think a lot of solo entrepreneurs don't feel like that. And it's like, no, your time is your most valuable resource. So if it's not worth your time and your attention, then outsource it, or don't do it. If it's something that you could be doing something more valuable for your customers, then do that instead, because that's the people that are going to get your business to where you want it, in the future. Like, we've seen building a community and building a client base and having happy customers is like the most important thing. And if you're constantly just in the business and stuck doing menial tasks, then find somebody else who can do it. We did it with accounting. Accounting wasn't worth my time. Financial reconciliations every month weren't worth my time.
Mm-hmm.
So we found a way to outsource that. And the projects that I've been able to take on because of that free time have been invaluable.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to kind of get into the mindset of just how can I balance my time so that I'm actually progressing and not, trying to learn this thing that I'm not even good at. Because I'm the same way, I'll kind of look into things and I'll be like, oh, I really want to learn that. That's a really awesome tool to use and it's really awesome to have. But sometimes I'm just honestly just not good at doing that thing. So
Yeah.
I think it's really important to recognize, maybe you're not good at doing that. Maybe it's just worth hiring a professional. Like you said with accounting, if you don't do that stuff every day, it's kind of really hard to just, go in there and reconcile things in a timely amount per month. And especially if you aren't educated in that, or if you need to get a little bit of research to do that, it just takes even longer than it should. Um, so I think definitely getting to the point where you can say, okay, I need to outsource this. That was a huge step for me, honestly, because I have to admit I'm a little bit cheap sometimes when it comes to company stuff. So I'll be like, oh, I can just do that myself. But then it'll sit on my to-do list for like 3 months. Or
Yeah.
I'll finish pretending I can design something and then look at it and say to myself, holy moly, this is not good. Like I need to hire someone. So I definitely think that's a huge decision. And an important step to make is when to outsource and also when not to outsource. Like you said, if you're going to use that skill, every day or just really frequently in your job, and it's just something you really need to learn, then it definitely is important to take a step back and learn some new things sometimes.
Yeah, we've done a lot of signing up for new CRM that has the flexibility and the customization uh, that we use was really exciting for me, but also like the most overwhelming. It was like building the business from the ground up again because every process I needed to redesign and rewrite, and I wanted to up level everything as I did it.
Mhm.
And it was so overwhelming. I went to a conference last year and then I found a company there that was like a good ongoing consultant for me to use, that like they had some templates for things. I did like a fast pass, like 2-day workshop with them where we built out like an entire marketing funnel. And, realizing that investment, like it was expensive, all of it together was really expensive for what I would consider to be mostly like continued education for me. But having Emily be like, I'm more than happy to pay for someone else to teach you how to do this stuff that I will never be able to teach you how to do, and that I know you're going to use to 5x this company and be able
Mhm.
to free your own time up, and you're going to enjoy doing it, and it's networking opportunities for you. She was like, there's nothing would be more exciting to me than for you to get to go do that for yourself and know that it's going to come back to me 10 times over, to have that like wherewithal to be as flexible with it, that I'm like, here's why I trust this company. Here's why I like working with them. Here are the objectives of like the things that I would like for them to teach me. And she's like, okay, go do it. And then just trust me to come back and be like, here's what I learned. Here's what I designed. Here's what we're going to launch. Here's how it's all going to work. And I'm just like, all you have to do is show up and teach. And she's like, great. And then all the messy stuff that happens behind the scenes um, is stuff that like I will use in every job from here on out. And she knows that and I know that. And learning from people that have already done the grunt work saved so much of my time. It's an investment up front, but how many hours and hours and hours and hours of my time did that save, because they've already made all the mistakes and they've spent the time in the trenches doing that, that 10,000 hours of research to be an expert for a reason. And I just get to benefit from that and pick up where they already are, and I don't have to go through the trial and error process. I just get to learn and have fun. And that's why, like, we work with a lot of consultants, but I would say that I work mostly with consultants that I feel like I can also learn from, rather than just to do it for you.
Mhm.
I don't want them to just make something and then I'm not able to maintain it. I don't understand how it works. I don't understand why it works.
Right.
So I like to find companies where it's usually a little bit more cost effective to work with someone who's going to build it with you, because it's not them doing it for you. So I find that really beneficial, but also I am learning from it. So, and then I can go build it again when I want to do it the next time, and I don't have to pay for that company to work with me the second time. Then I'm empowered to go build it for myself. And I think that's been my biggest like benefit to that like, it is an upfront investment, but the time that it saves and the fact that I can recreate that process for us is like, it's hard to quantify how that's changed like our operations as a whole.
Yeah. And I think that's something we definitely need to think about is, okay, we're using this time for this new training. How much time is it going to save us in the future? Is it going to grow our business enough to where using this, excessive time now is going to be worth it? So I think, kind of as you were saying towards the beginning of the show today, aligning things with what you have in mind for the company and making sure that they're going to pay off in the end, whether it's saving you time or making you more money. I think that's super, super important. So can you kind of go in and go through how you kind of go through the mental process of making sure an opportunity aligns with what you guys have in mind for the company?
Yeah, absolutely. The first year that when I started in like March of 2017, we did our annual like staff retreat, where we like go away from the city and get away for like 2 to 3 days and just like brainstorm and talk about, what was our success this year? Like, let's celebrate that first and foremost. What is our overarching goals for next year, and we just sort of like blurt everything out, like what, put it all down on paper, like what are the things that we want to accomplish, and then we start to like whittle it down from there. So like when we first did it in 2017, I think we had like 35 things on that list, and it was like, are we really going to be able to accomplish 35 of these giant things in the next year? Like, no. And we like debated for like 2 to 3 hours of, why is this more important than this? What does this have to do with the like core values of the company? Like, and getting clear on the mission and the vision of the company, and then those like core, like just absolute core values of like, ours are it's usually like 6 to 7 things of like, how does the company operate? So ours are like, we're here to serve and have fun doing
Mhm.
it. We are high performers. We execute elegantly and efficiently. We have personal integrity. We practice compassionate honesty. We ask, what can I give? And we're socially and environmentally conscious. So going into these 35 things, looking at it like, well, is this something that is serving our community? Is this something that we can execute on right now elegantly and efficiently? Or is this something that we need to save for the next year? If we don't have time to do this efficiently, then let's not do it. Does this align with the fact that we want to be environmentally conscious? Is this a company that, like, Emily turned down a couple different opportunities because the brand didn't align with being socially and environmentally
Mhm.
conscious. And she's like, I can't support that brand. One of them was a very, very large company that could have been like a huge needle mover for us, but it didn't line up with being socially conscious. And she was like, I can't support this brand. So, then it becomes like, these are very simple questions to be able to ask yourself of, does this actually just align with who the company is? And then to take something like the mission statement, which the mission statement of Ziva is that we want to rid the world of unnecessary suffering by giving people powerful tools to eradicate stress and optimize performance in all areas of their lives. It's like a very one sentence, very clear cut, and then you go and evaluate an opportunity of, oh, we want Emily to speak at this conference. Great. Are the people there primed for this message? Is it going to help move the needle of ridding the world of unnecessary suffering? Like, is it a room full of people that are spreading a similar message? Does that brand align with ours? Like, all of these things that just become very simple questions to ask with any opportunity. And then getting our core strategic objectives down to, I think this year it's 10 or 11 things that are very simple. Like, we want to optimize and perfect our reporting. We want to overhaul one specific marketing funnel. We want to make the book a New York Times bestseller. We want to have a really solid, like, refer a friend strategy. So then when specific opportunities start to come in, it's like, okay, is this going to move the needle on one of these 11 things? No. All right, let's tell them to circle back with us in 2020. And we're already doing that for some things, like the level of opportunities that have started coming in just in this first week since the book is launched. I've got this list open when I'm evaluating anything of, what is the company that is asking, what's the brand, and then how does it relate to the core objectives of Ziva? Like, is this something that's going to really get the message of the book out there in the world this year, and really, like, increase book sales, but more importantly, like, get this into the hands of as many people as possible? Because if it gets the book into the hands of as many people as possible, then we're really starting to rid the world of unnecessary suffering by getting a third of the United States population meditating, or whatever. So it's like looking at something as simple as a mission statement that's like one sentence, that's like the first, like, guard for me. And then looking at the vision of the company of, like, all the people that are going to be putting work into this, are they going to be able to execute on this in alignment with the core values? And then looking at specific core strategic objectives of, is this moving the needle on one of the 10 things that we said we wanted to do this year? And that becomes the very last stop of, like, if it's not, then we've got to push it off. Even if it's something that we really, really want to do, Emily and I will look at each other and be like, is this a shiny train? And she's like, I think it is. And I'm like, I agree. Let's tell them to circle back in 2020, or this is something. I mean, there's a couple things that we've even said, like, this might be 2021, which seems crazy to be planning that far ahead. But if you look at where we want the company to go, and where we're expecting the growth to take us, and that works on a tiny scale too. If the company is making $20,000 or $30,000 this year, but you expect it to be making $250,000 in 5 years, think about the types of things that you'll be able to handle with $250,000 versus 20 to 30,000. And it's not unrealistic to be thinking in those terms, like 2 to 3 years ahead, when you really have these big goals and big dreams in mind. And one of the things that I posted about in this group the other day after the book launch is something that I wished that I truly believed it, like, years and years ago, but I just wasn't ready to hear it, that, like, manifestation precedes desire. And you wouldn't know that you wanted something unless the universe was already conspiring to give it to you. So for people that are thinking, like, oh, well, maybe my company will be making $250,000 someday, or whatever, you wouldn't imagine that was possible unless the universe was already like, this could happen for you. And that for thinking about opportunities that seem too big, or any of that, is just like, you wouldn't even want it if it wasn't already headed to you. And I think that's such a beautiful way to start evaluating these opportunities, and to dream big, and, like, take on things that feel really large, because you believe that payoff is coming, because it is. And taking risks, I can't imagine. I take risks with Ziva, but it's not my baby. And for somebody like Emily to be able to trust me to take some of those risks is a really beautiful thing that I don't take lightly. And I can't imagine what it's like to own your own business and to be making those decisions on your own, and or with an even smaller team. Like, that to me is one of the most impressive things about being an entrepreneur, and getting really clear about what you want. Is like step one, and the hardest part of, like, what do you really want? What do you want your company to do? What do you want to bring to the world? And having that mission statement, those core values, and these, like, strategic objectives for each year has been game changing for us to be able to make decisions based on what Ziva's, like, true purpose is. And I think a lot of people are scared to get clear about that stuff, because then it does change your decisions quite a bit. But to watch the payoff is pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, that was just as I was just sitting here listening to you, I was just sitting here nodding and smiling, and it's just, I mean, I know you guys can't see that, but but that was just hit the nail on the head as to, how things should be in your mind. Like you said, if you really are thinking that your company is going to be $250,000 one day, that's not a thought that everyone just has. There's so many people that just doubt themselves, or they just don't even come up to the level of having those aspirations in the first place. So I've kind of mentioned this before in a previous episode, but if you're even having that thought that you're going to be there one day, or, oh, it'd be nice to be there one day, but you're kind of already, thinking at that level, then you're already mentally there, and you just kind of need to progress through your company, through networking. Just keep doing what you're doing and keep growing and hustling. You're going to get to that point in the future if you're already thinking that way. So I think that was definitely an inspiring and a really good reminder, because it's really hard, especially when you're first starting your company. You don't really know if anyone's going to pay attention to you. You don't really know what's going to happen or anything like that. But if you do hustle, and if you do have the aspiration to get to a certain financial goal, then more than likely you're going to end up there.
Yeah, it really is just a matter of time and finding the people that see you and that get it, and that align with your mission and align with your vision, because they're going to help. Emily is one of the best networkers I've ever met, and to see the relationships that she has created over the last 7 years that this company has been in existence, are a lot of them are really, really paying off right now with spreading the message of this book. Like the rallying around Ziva and the whole team. The people that I've met just over the last 2 years that are now, like, I would consider like mentors and colleagues, and people that, are looking at like the things that we're doing and saying, your team is how many people, and you launched you took on a complete CRM transfer, and then did this, and then did this, and like you've done that in what, a year? Like it just to hear the disbelief of people with like the things that we're capable of and that we've accomplished is beyond. And I'm not thinking about that at 2:00 in the morning when I'm coding a broken web page. But it's wonderful when it starts happening, and it's the hard work does pay off, and it's so worth it when it does, to see the testimonials that we're seeing now, like to see how much this book has already changed some people's lives, and the people that have taken we just reached the 1-year anniversary of the new online course, and to hear people saying like, I've been meditating for a year now, and I've doubled my salary, and I was trying to get pregnant and I couldn't, and now I am, and I have a wonderful son, and all of these different benefits and all of these things that pay off. I mean, learning to meditate has changed my life 100%. And to be able to attribute my like work happiness to the practice that I'm helping to spread in my work life is a dream. And so many people start businesses just to be able to live their dream. And I think taking stock of what that really means and how brave that is really, really important, especially for solo entrepreneurs that get so burnt out and spent so much time alone and doing things in a silo. Like, you've got to celebrate your successes too, and having a company, period, where you're doing what you're passionate about is such a big deal. It's so huge, and it's so brave, and it's so wonderful. and I hope that everybody can stop and appreciate it and pat themselves on the back and scream it from the mountaintops that like they're brave and wonderful and like just living a life that's exciting. And it's just incredible to watch our company grow through that, and to be as excited about this company, to be more excited about working here 2 years in, and to have the team that I do, and to be like, I truly do wake up every morning and I'm excited to talk to my team, and I have a great time working here. That alone is worth everything to really enjoy what I do. And I think, and I've found that through, finding someone else's company, but to like wake up one morning and just make the decision, like, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to start a company doing this thing that I really love. That is the bravest thing to me. It's just insane that people have the courage to do that. And I applaud you all. And I'm just in awe of people that have the courage to do that. And it just, it means everything to other people that have that same dream to be able to do that someday. I hope to do that someday, but for now I'm still learning. So
yeah, it's just so nice hearing you, acknowledge what everyone that's listening is probably in the process of doing right now. And it's so inspiring just to hear, where the company started from to where they boomed in a year, and all of the opportunities you guys have gotten, and more importantly, all of the opportunities you guys have turned away just because it's not a good fit. And I know you mentioned earlier that you had a really, really big opportunity come towards you, and you guys turned it down because it just wasn't in line with what message you wanted to give people. So I think it's really important to also remember that it's important to say no, but it's also important to remember that if you say yes to the wrong thing or the wrong opportunity, it could actually hurt you instead of helping you. Um, and I think that was a really good example of, when that big company gave you guys an opportunity that really could have helped you, but maybe not, because it wasn't the message you were trying to give off. It just didn't align right. So I think keeping in mind that, saying no is okay, and you actually really need to sometimes, like you really need to make sure that your company is staying in that right line of sight to get to the goal that you want to get to that message that you're wanting to give people. So when you guys have those opportunities that just really don't align with what you're looking for, how do you guys say no but still stay professional, or say, hey, we're going to circle back next year or in 2021?
I mean, it's all about communicating in a way that's kind and empathetic, and you never know who somebody is going to go work for again someday, and they're going to remember every interaction that they have with your customer service, with your marketing team, with the founder of the company. Like, just knowing that everybody's going to remember every interaction that they have with you. And it's never
Right.
personal. You've got to get, when that's one of my biggest lessons, has been really learning how to detach from the personal side of things, and just say, hey, this isn't a fit right now, or we're really trying to focus on this other thing, and we'd really love to explore this next year if you guys are still open. And not shutting the door on anything unless you really want to shut that door. Like, if it's a company that is just like, unfortunately, like our goals and our mission of the company like don't line up with this right now. So we're gonna have to pass this time, but please let us know, like, if anything comes up again, or not saying that at all, and just saying, like, this isn't a fit. We appreciate you reaching out, and we hope you find another company. Or if you have not necessarily if it's something that doesn't align with your goals, but sometimes we'll recommend other teachers or other companies that are similar to us. and not being afraid to connect people with something that may be a better fit. There are teachers that are just starting out, that are, in the hustling stage that Emily was in 4 or 5 years ago. And it's like, you know what, this isn't a fit for Ziva right now, but maybe you want to reach out to this person that we know, that we trust, and you give that person an endorsement, and then you make a connection, and then it's a successful relationship for both sides, on that end. And that feels great, to be able to make those connections whenever you have the opportunity. And Emily's, benefited from people doing that with her so much. It's nice that she tries to prioritize like giving that back, to people that are in the place that she was a few years ago. And there's people that are still doing that now, that are, $10 million a year, or $20 million a year, and are like, well, maybe you should talk to my friend Emily. She runs this wonderful meditation company and blah, blah, blah. And, and we've had a lot of opportunities come our way from other people making connections. So, making sure that you're giving props to the people in your community, and trying to make connections wherever possible. If you do have to say no, I think that's a great way to say no, is to recommend somebody else if you have somebody that you trust. And just being as kind as possible. Everybody's doing the best that they can with the tools that they're given. Some people are really just trying to do their job, and it's all about being professional and staying true to who you are, but in a way that isn't personally knocking someone else for who they may be at that time. And just saying like, this isn't for us right now, but we appreciate you reaching out, and all the best. And who knows what'll happen in the future. But I think the biggest thing we try to practice is empathy and kindness, and gratitude, and thanking every opportunity for coming your way. It's certainly better than the opposite. And just being like as pleasant and as human as possible. We're all the same thing, at the end of the day, and we just really, really try to remember that, and to be as kind as we can.
Yeah,
to everybody.
I agree with that. I know sometimes, from my point of view, I run a large wedding photography company, and we deal with a lot of brides, and sometimes we're just not a good fit for people, and they'll let us know that. And we always make sure to respond with, that it's okay, and that we hope they have a beautiful wedding anyways. We just want them honestly to just be happy and have a good wedding. It doesn't matter if they're working with us or if they're not working with us, but definitely I do keep in mind that, empathy, kindness, all of that stuff radiates. And if something happens and they, end up actually needing us, they'll come back to you. But if you end something in a really negative email, or you just don't reply to them at all, they're not going to come back to you, and that door is going to be closed forever. So I definitely think that kindness for sure, and just getting back to them and wishing them the best truly is a really great way to stay in touch, even if it's something where they said that it's not necessarily a good fit right now.
Yeah, definitely. You never know how things are going to change, or when people will reach back out. They'll remember the kindness. They'll remember, the follow up, and like going the extra mile. Our customer service is known for going way above and beyond to help people, because what we're dealing with, people learning to meditate and going through this process, it's such a big life change. It's not unlike a wedding. It's the biggest day of so many people's lives. It's such a sensitive thing to be dealing with. And so like going above and beyond is so much more appreciated in times like that, when people are vulnerable or extra stressed, and high strung, like so many brides are. It just goes such a long way that they'll remember that one little moment of kindness where they had like a tiny breath of fresh air, that like they read a sweet email. I remember those from years ago at other companies that I've worked with, like somebody that just took the time to reply and say like, I really hope that you have the best day, or like, let me know if I could do anything for you in the future. Those are the things that stick out in people's mind. And chances are it is going to come back. And if you, like you said, it radiates. If you give all of that positivity and that love and that warmth out, it's just going to come back to
Mm.
you 10 times more. And it doesn't hurt to be a nice
Yes.
human. It just doesn't, it
Nope.
doesn't hurt anyone. It just can't. And it's so easy. And it's unfortunately rare, but it's
Mhm.
so easy.
Yeah, yeah, I think that all the time. If I see someone being negative out in public or, anything like that, I'm like, how hard is it to be nice to someone? Like, it's really
Yeah.
not that difficult. I know we all get upset and stuff like that, but I mean, if you just take that out on someone else, you could ruin someone's day or, I mean, potentially their life, which would be a little extreme, but it can definitely happen. Different things hit people differently, and it's just so important to treat everyone kindly because it's not hard, and it's so 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 important. But I think we've covered a lot today. We've covered on how to say no to people kindly and professionally. We've covered why saying no is so important and kind of evaluating opportunities on if we should take them, if we should not. Do they align to our company standards or our company objectives or what we want our brands to represent? So, and we also got a bonus of a lot of inspirational talk today, which I am so, so thankful for you sharing all of this information, all of this inspiration, this kindness, and this joy that honestly you've brought me. And I really hope you brought everyone as well for who is listening. So, Laura, thank you so much for coming on the show today, truly.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It really was a pleasure, and I'm so happy to be someone who spreads joy and inspiration. Meditation is a powerful thing, people. Very powerful.
All right. So I definitely do agree with that. And I think we will finish up by asking a few fun questions here just to get to know you a little bit better. And then we'll kind of go through where people can find you guys at and get more information as well.
Great.
So, my first and favorite question, what is your favorite type of ice cream?
I don't like ice cream, weirdly enough. I never have since I was a kid. The only kind I've ever eaten is birthday cake flavored ice cream, which is really funny because I don't actually like birthday cake or ice cream, but when they are together, for some reason, it is okay with me.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so what is your favorite dessert then?
Creme brulee, hands down.
Okay. All right. All right. And if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go?
I've actually been thinking about this because I want to take like a dream trip later this year, and I think it might be Greece.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one. We're about to go to London and Italy,
Oh,
but Greece will definitely be in the future.
yeah, it's like one of my top 5 like places to photograph.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I think I may be headed to Greece.
Okay. Do you photograph as well?
Yeah, I went to school for photography actually.
Oh, yeah. 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 I remember that now. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what do you usually photograph?
Mostly landscape. I'd like to get more into portraits and people this year, but I've always just been a landscape, scenery, city type person.
And Greece is perfect for that.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So, of course, we learned so much from you today and we were so inspired, honestly. So, where can we find you if we have more questions or we just want to learn more?
Well, zivameditation.com is the company's website that has all about like the book, the online course, the in-person course, and my personal. We're at Ziva Meditation on all social media. Me personally, I'm at Laura Skills on Instagram, and I'm happy to answer any questions there. And Yeah, I mean, I'm on like the Ziva website. There's a Ziva team page. It's Laura Sills on LinkedIn. I'm happy to answer questions there as well. Um, and I truly mean that. Any questions at all, I'm happy to connect and have people send them my way. I love, if I was smart enough to make those types of connections when I was a little bit younger, I'm sure I would be a lot more, like, not that I'm not well connected today, but you know what I mean. I just wish
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had had the opportunity to like reach out to people, or that I had the wherewithal to like go search for that kind of
Mhm.
thing. So any and all questions at all, it can be business stuff, tech stuff, whatever. You get me talking about tech and I will never stop. So yeah.
All right, guys, she just gave you a really good connection. So if I were you, I would probably go use that. But again, thank you so much for coming on the show today, Laura. Do you have any final closing thoughts or notes, or just any thank yous or anything like that for our audience?
um, no, just thank you for listening. Podcasts have changed the way that I learn in the last 2 years pretty immensely. So bravo to everybody that's spending their spare time learning. I see you and I appreciate you.
All right, guys. Again, Laura Sills with Ziva Meditation. And again, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Today was an amazing episode where we learned about how to say no, and we just really got inspired today. So thank you guys for listening, and I will see you again next week. Thank you for listening to The Mentor Project with Nicole Bruce. Tune in next time for more on marketing, SEO, and going full-time as a creative.